What's up, everybody? It's your boy Eddie, aka Durio 1000. So today is February 4th, 2023, and in today's video, I am going to break down the David Benevidez versus Caleb Plant fight that's coming up in March 25th, 2023. This is a very highly anticipated fight. We've been waiting for fights like this for quite some time. We know both David and Caleb were looking for what's his name, Canelo Alvarez, and neither were able. Well, Caleb lost to Canelo Alvarez, and David Benevidez has been calling out Canelo Alvarez for several years now. Now, this fight is one that has been brewing for quite some time. A lot of people have been looking for this fight. You know, we wanted to see David Benevidez versus Charlo, David Benevidez versus Plant. We got David Benevidez versus Durrell, which was a good fight. We got Caleb Plant versus Durrell, which was a good fight. So these are all good fights that, you know, we wanted to see and we want to see. We still want to see Charlo and Andrade. But this is a video breakdown about David Benevidez and Caleb Plant. All right, so David Benevidez is 26 years old. Caleb Plant is 30 years old, so only a 4-year age gap. So both are, David is coming into his prime. Caleb Plant is in his prime. Caleb Plant had a spectacular knockout against Anthony Durrell. His last fight, left hook. And I did a video breakdown of the two versus Durrell. I went round by round, seeing how many, the action that each of them took against Durrell. So, this fight, all right, Super Middle's at 168. So at 168, this fight's going to be at 168. Now, the only common opponent that I noticed what stood out was both of them fought Anthony Durrell, right? Both of them stopped Anthony Durrell, right? So you have to, I know that the triangular, whatever they call it, just because this guy beat that guy doesn't mean that this guy beat that is going to be that guy because that guy lost to that guy. I know that it does not work. However, in life, at least in my experience and what I've gleaned from life, is that, the more output you give, the more returns you get. So in this breakdown, I'm just going to basically talk about the output. I'm not going to be talking too much about styles per se. I'm going to be talking about the output, the energy used in the fights against Durrell, each one. So in basketball, they say you miss every shot you don't take. Well, I'm going to switch it over in fighting. It says you miss every punch you don't throw. And in this, I went over first round, punch by punch, third round, punch by punch, sixth round, punch by punch, versus Anthony Durrell, both Caleb Plant and David Benevidez. All right. So one of the things that I noticed is that Caleb Plant has a low output compared to David Benevidez. And I know that output isn't everything, right? But output is a lot. You have to throw punches and knock people out. You have to throw punches to win fights. And Caleb Plant versus Durrell in the first round, Caleb threw a total of 22 punches, 20 lefts, 2 rights. All right. David Benevidez, he threw 21 lefts, 13 rights. All right. So that's just the first round. Third round, Caleb threw 17 lefts and 7 rights. Now David Benevidez, he threw 40 lefts and 15 rights. Okay. Sixth round, Caleb Plant threw 31 lefts and 7 rights. David Benevidez threw 39 lefts and 13 rights. So just by that, it's basically, I did that because I didn't want to do, all rounds because time, obviously. And I noticed that David Benevidez is consistently throwing punches. He has a consistent output. Excuse me. And the way that they both beat Darrell is basically a reflection of that. But David Benevidez, he beat Darrell up. Like, he brutally beat him up for 2-3 rounds. Like, David Benevidez caught him with a left. When Darrell had his hands down and he was leaning forward, David Benevidez hit him with that left jab and busted up his eye. And from then on out, David Benevidez just beat him 2 rounds, 3 rounds straight. The doctor was looking at him. Whereas on the other hand, Caleb Plant, he seemed more systematic than David Benevidez. Caleb Plant seemed more focused. And Caleb Plant seemed more planned because his left, both of them hit Darrell with a left that changed the outcome of the fight. David Benevidez left was a straight jab when Anthony Darrell, made a mistake. Caleb Plant, his left was when he was inside, he hit him with a left and then came down, and then as Darrell was throwing his left, Caleb was throwing his left, and Caleb made it there quicker and knocked out Darrell. So Caleb seemed to have better timing in that instance. But the thing is, how will these two face each other? How will they perform? Well, I'm thinking that David Benevidez is still going to have a higher output than Caleb Plant. And to me, this basically means that Caleb Plant is going to have to stay on the outside because David Benevidez has him by 1 inch, and David Benevidez throws more punches. So Caleb Plant, and combinations. David Benevidez threw more combinations than Caleb Plant in that fight. Way more combinations. So Caleb Plant, the way that Caleb Plant, his keys to victory are to stay on the outside, use those angles, take some shots, give some shots to the body, go for the body, and bring David Benevidez's hands down, feint, and then go up top with the right. That's Caleb Plant's keys to victory. David Benevidez's keys to victory are he's going to just get used to those angles from Caleb Plant because Caleb Plant is going to use those angles. And if David Benevidez is not able to adjust to those angles, then it's going to be a long night for David Benevidez. Because Caleb Plant is quick. Caleb Plant is tactical. So David Benevidez is going to have to understand the angles and be able to adjust to the angles. Next thing David Benevidez has got to do is he has to do what he's been doing, is punching, letting those hands go. Caleb Plant's going to be moving. David Benevidez needs to be punching. And whenever he punches, he eventually, I believe, he's going to find Caleb Plant making a mistake. Because David Benevidez is a high punch output compared to Caleb Plant. All right, so David Benavidez's keys to victory are to cut off the ring, adjust to the angles that Caleb Plant presents, and continue using that punch output. Let those hands go. Use that jab, and I see. It's hard for me to see David Benavidez knocking out Caleb Plant, and it's really hard for me to imagine Caleb Plant knocking out David Benavidez. I don't see how Caleb Plant is going to be able to dance around and knock out David Benavidez. The only way to knock out David Benavidez is to get into a 50-50 with him. Is to get into a 50-50 with David Benavidez. And David Benavidez is good on the inside and on the outside. Caleb Plant caught Darrell with good timing. I don't think he's going to be able to do that with David Benavidez. Me personally, I don't think that he's going to be able to do that with David Benavidez. All right? David Benavidez does not make too many mistakes like that. But that's what I think. I think David Benavidez is going to win this on points. Caleb Plant is going to stay on the outside. David Benavidez is going to work the jab. David Benavidez is going to get some punches in. David Benavidez might stop him late. I feel like David Benavidez has a point to prove because Canelo stopped Caleb Plant, I think, in the 11th round. So if David Benavidez is able to beat Caleb Plant in a quicker manner than Canelo, that would be David Benavidez would be making a statement. And I think that's what he's trying to do. Because during that press conference, he was pretty emotional. And one of the things that I'm looking at is how is David Benavidez going to perform on a big stage like this. The biggest fight for David Benavidez was the Anthony Darrell fight. The biggest fight for Caleb Plant was the Canelo Alvarez fight. So Caleb Plant has been on this stage before. David Benavidez, we'll see how this plays out. I don't know if he's going to be able to keep his composure because the ring reveals the truth. If you have a flaw in the ring, if he has a flaw, shows a flaw, Caleb Plant will find it and expose it. And it may cost him the fight. So, and he's only 26 years old, so his maturity level may come into effect. You have to think about if his emotions get too out of control, is he going to start, could he be deducted a point? If he gets too emotional, if Plant is becoming successful and things aren't going the way that David Benavidez anticipated, David Benavidez could lose self-control and it could cost him the fight. So, again, my prediction for this fight is David Benavidez by points with the win. All right. That's my prediction for this fight. Leave your comments below. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm right. Tell me what you think. I'm out.